Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. I hope it's a great Saturday where you are. It certainly is here in the great state of Maine. My name is Michelle, and I'm with Olive and 2U Studios. I'm typically here every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, but the beauty of YouTube is that you can watch this podcast anytime at your convenience in your own home or wherever you may be. So welcome to those who are here live this morning. I see the Yarny U's are turning up, and welcome to those who are watching later. If you haven't already done so, I do invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We do all kinds of fun things on this channel, and go ahead and hit the bell for notifications so you can be sure to see all of the good things that are happening at Olive and 2U. And let me just tell you, today we have a lot to get to, of course. So I'm so glad the Yarny U's are showing up. I see Tish and Nancy and Deb and Rachel and Tara and Michelle and Martha and Jennifer and Deborah and Terry, all the people. Tracy's got her tea in hand. Lydia's here. I love it. Valera, Doris, Cindy. I love it. Too many to name. So happy Saturday. Boy, oh boy, I feel like I say it every Saturday, but we have got a ton to get to today, including a deep dive into beautifully basic tees. So I'm really excited about that. Historically, we have typically done a super summer sweater make along, and this year is no exception. And when I was considering what sweater to do this year, a lot of things went through my mind, including a lot of your comments in the Yarny U's. If you don't know what the Yarny U's is, it's a fantastic dynamic Facebook group called the Yarny U's, and there's no drama, no politics ever, which is one of the beautiful things about it. It really is an oasis on the internet, but there's a lot going on in the Yarny U's. And there have been a lot of conversations about a BBT, because if you've been in the Yarny U's and you're steeped in Yarny U's culture, you hear that term a lot, the BBT. It has become one of the iconic patterns well represented within our group of knitters and crocheters. And the reason is because, well, let's just go back. The reason is multifold. Number one, it's because it's a fantastic, versatile, easy beginner pattern, as well as a great pattern for seasoned knitters. The other reason is because it appeared in the very first issue of Nomadic Knits, which is one of our favorite knitting magazines. And the yarn used to design the beautifully basic tee was Olive and 2U Studios yarn. So how cool is that? We were a nascent company at the time, and we were absolutely delighted to be picked up for that particular publication. And the yarn base that was used in that was our Dickinson base, which we have since retired in lieu of an even better base, which the Rawlings is what took the place of the Dickinson base, and it's even more luxurious. So as time goes on and new people come into the Yarny U's, we get new U's to the flock all the time. Those of us who've been around a while tend to forget and refer to it as the BBT, which stands for Beautifully Basic Tee. So this recently in the Yarny U's, a couple people actually asked, what the heck is a BBT y'all are talking about? It is the Beautifully Basic Tee. And I thought, what a great time to revive a timeless and elegant pattern for our super summer sweater make along. And apparently it was a good decision, because a bunch of you guys are signing up for the super summer sweater make along. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the Beautifully Basic Tee a little bit, and we have some tools to help you get along with your pattern. I'm very excited about this make along. We decided to beef things up a little bit. So we are going to be giving prizes. To be prize eligible, you just need to use Olive and 2U Studios yarn, and it can be vintage Olive and 2U, meaning it's from your stash. And we're going to talk in a little bit about stash diving as well. You can certainly dive into your stash for this knit along, but you do need to use a preponderance of Olive and 2U yarn to be prize eligible. And just for kicks, I was feeling really good this week. So the grand prize for the knit along is going to be a $100 gift card to the Olive and 2U Studios shop. $100. That'll buy you a few hanks of yarn. That'll buy you a good amount, or some notions, or some things that you've had your eye on. So that is the top prize for the knit along. So if nothing else encourages you to do it, I mean, you're going to get a fantastic garment out of it, Plus, you're going to get the camaraderie of the yarn you use as you knit along. I'm going to be doing weekly videos to sort of reflect on the pattern, show you my progress. Little accountability there from Michelle. And to talk about some of the techniques that are used in it. So it's going to be a really beefy make along in terms of the things that we're offering as part of it. So it will begin in early August and it will end in early September, just before our trip to Scotland. So you're going to have some time to work on this. And the beautiful thing about the yarn I use, the Olive and 2U Studios knit alongs, is typically, in fact, always, we don't require a finished object. So you can work at your own pace and not feel the pressure of having to complete the garment. Obviously, we want you to complete it because it would be awesome to wear, but you don't have that sort of pressure. So those kits are available right now on the website. I know that you're finding them because the orders are coming in for the kits. We're offering 4 beautiful colorways dyed by Sherry and Terry, of course. And I'll just tell you, we'll talk about the colorways a little more in a moment, but there are 2 of the colorways that are debuting to the shop this time, colorways that you've not seen before. So that is very, very exciting as well. So we're going to talk about the Beautifully Basic Tee knit along this morning and all the deep dive into that and about the kits. And of course, the new Cancer colorways for June are here now. Now, if you have already subscribed to that series, I guess I should say, then your colorways have already been shipped. And I think many of you have already received them. But this is National Cancer Survivor Month. And Sherry and Terry have done a fantastic job of dyeing this up. So this is Surviving and Thriving. The color is kind of a lavender color, and they've done a really nice riff on it with some deeper purples. And I know many of you are loving this color. Purple is one of the fave colors in the yarn I use, and it is beautiful. So you've got that real variation in the colors. You've got the lighter lavender along with the deeper lavender. And then we do have a mini this month that coordinates perfectly, and it's called Ringing the Bell or Ring the Bell. And it's more of that lighter lavender shade. And we're offering in both Alcott, which is a fingering weight mini, and then our Hawthorne, which is a DK weight mini. So you can make your own sock set, which is very, very exciting there as well. So Cancer colorways are available right now in the shop. They are also right here. If you click on the portion of the YouTube video that says products, you can click there and see them. Or of course, in the shop tab here on YouTube, you can go directly to the shop and grab what you need there. So that's very exciting. Of course, we've got whips coming up for you today, all the things. And I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert right now because I'm so excited about this colorway. So tell me in the comments if you ordered the Ticket to Stitch, the Tick colorway from Maine. You might remember this was the colorway that Sherry and Terry came up with to, I don't know, memorialize. Is that what you say? My very first tick bite here in Maine. And as you know, talking about the yarn I use, one of the things that we often do is have fantastic mystery colorways to deal with, weather situations, cultural situations, or in this case, personal situations of mine. And Ticket to Stitch was that. And they really, really, really knocked it out of the park. So that shipped this week. But if you signed up for that and for some reason, maybe your package hasn't arrived yet, it's going to arrive today, you see by the shipping notices, and you don't want to see the mystery colorway, then now is your chance. Now's your warning to look away because I have to show mine. I ordered myself a couple hanks of this and I love it so much. So look away if you don't want to see it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I did that in reverse. Let's do that again. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to show it to you. This is Ticket to Stitch, and I love it so much. So what this colorway represented, I'm going to open it up for you. We gave you a peek at the palette before they set to dyeing it. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't. So we've got the green of the Maine trees, the pine trees that are so iconic for Maine, the green. We've got kind of the woodsy colors of the tree trunks and that sort of thing. And then we've got the beautiful, let me go the right way, the beautiful blue of the sky. So a lot of times, pictures of Maine, you're going to see those gorgeous greens, those beautiful blues, and of course the browns of the trunks. But one of the other things that you have in here, are the tickies. See those speckles? Those represent the ticks. I dare say, I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, scour the interwebs and see if I'm wrong. This might be the first tick devoted colorway ever, because we're just crazy enough to do it. But there it is with all the representation, the green of the trees, the blue of the sky, the brown of the tree trunks, and of course, the ticks. But these ticks won't bite you. These ticks will just be beautiful in your projects, and you'll forever remember the tick bite on my leg. How glamorous is that? So I'm delighted. I got myself a couple of hanks. I got to find something super fun to do with it. I'm very excited about it. Oh, Nancy says she loves the muted colors. I do too. It's great. So I'm really excited about it. Yes, I'm going to try to twist this back up on screen. I'm never very good at it, I have to tell you, but let's see. Let's see how she did this morning, because I don't have my automatic. It's not too bad, but it's not too great. So I'll deal with that a little bit later. So that's Ticket to Stitch. I was super excited about that. Very, very excited. Okay, so let's talk for a little bit about the Beautifully Basic Tees. So first of all, one of the things that you need to know about this pattern is that I was enamored of it very quickly. I cottoned on to the idea that it was an easy knit. It was really good social knitting after a little bit of it. Once you get past the beginning of it, it's great social knitting because it's just knitting and knitting and knitting, which for my brain works out really well. And I also figured out that it's so versatile. You can dress it up. I've worn it. I've literally worn it with pearls before. You can wear it with jeans. You can wear it with anything that you want. And I love the versatility. You can put it under like a little suit coat if you need something a little dressier, like a shell, or you can do anything with it. So I have knit up 6 of them. 6 of them, and I'm going to show them to you now and talk about them just a little bit, because some of them have some features that I added in to make it a little bit different. That's another great thing about this particular pattern, is that it is so incredibly versatile. So this is my brown one, which I love. Great, great pattern. Pretty much written to the pattern. Not a lot of modification on this one. I'm a big girl, so, you know, it's a big sweater, right? Nice neutral brown color. I'm going to try to keep these a little straight, fold them up as I go. You can never go wrong with a black. And I love this so much. Mostly all of mine, I think, are knit in the Rawlings yarn base. And the reason that I love the Rawlings is because it does have a silk content to it. And silk is wonderful for warm weather knits. It's also great for, you know, any weather, but it's particularly nice for warmer weather because it has a lighter feel. It's lighter on the skin, and it really allows your skin to breathe. And I love the drape of Rawlings. That silk gives you a subtle sheen, which is lovely. It catches the light and really shows off the colorways, but it also gives you really lovely drape. And if you're like me, I don't like anything that's too clingy to my body. So this just drapes really nice, has a beautiful hand to it. So there's my black one. Again, black, nice neutral, very versatile color. The next one is not so neutral. Everybody wanted me to do one in a purple colorway, and so I did. And there is, it's a little wrinkled. Y'all, these had to live in boxes while I was moving, and they're not, I haven't steamed them yet. Oh, this one's actually still inside out. Let's fix that. Let me fix that real quick. Inside out, live on camera. But this is a fun purple color. So you can go from neutrals, you know, choose any colorway you want. Really nice purple color. Again, written pretty, modified pretty much, not modified, knit pretty much to the pattern is what I'm trying to say. Get my words right. All right. This next one is another neutral color. And this is one that I did modify. I don't know why all these are inside out. You'd think I would have, you know, known that. Hi, Belinda. Rawlings is her go-to. She says, I know, it's such a great yarn. Okay. This one I did modify. So this one is a Beautifully Basic Tee in a really neutral colorway. So the first modification that I made on this that you might notice is it has a longer sleeve on it. This actually goes down to my elbow. So the other sleeves are pretty much like this one, you know, normal kind of short sleeve, longer than a cap, but certainly not a 3/4 or an elbow sleeve. This one went all the way down to my elbow. And I did not do the ribbing on this either for the sleeves or the waist. So I didn't do the ribbing. I just let that curl a little bit on the sleeves and right at the hem. I'm stretching it out. It's really not that big, but you can see it's got that curled hem on it. I just thought, why not do something a little different? I knit this directly after another pattern that called for kind of an unfinished hem with no ribbing. And I liked the look of it. I liked that it was kind of more casual, and I liked that I didn't have to do the ribbing. Let's be honest, I was a little lazy, and it just felt really good to me. And so I did it, and I like it. I wish I had made it a little longer. I will tell you that. It's a little shorter than I wanted. I tend to block my beautifully basic tees fairly aggressively because I don't like them to cling to my body, as I said. But the longer sleeve was really nice. Now, with the beautifully basic tee pattern, there is a long sleeve option to it. And now there's actually a DK pattern as well. So you want to keep that in mind. The kits that we're offering on the website, I've done the math for you. You always want to double check my math though. Double check my math. You're responsible for ordering enough yarn, so check the pattern. The numbers of skeins that are listed in that listing are specifically for the short sleeve pattern. That's not to say that you might not have enough left over for the long sleeve, but if your heart is set on a long sleeve, you want to double check that math. But I did a 3/4 sleeve on this one. The very first beautifully basic tee I made was this one, and it's in a fun pink color. Now I'm going to show you something interesting. This was actually knit to pattern because it was brand new to me. It was the very first time I had knit it. But when I received the yarn, I noticed, as is often the case with indie hand-dyed yarn, that there were some subtle variations in the hanks. Some of them had really much lighter portions to it, and some of them had darker portions. Now, at the time, this was several years ago when I knit this, and I was more of a beginning knitter at the time. So while I knew that it's always wise to alternate hanks of hand-dyed yarn, I wasn't up to it. I had too much else going on in my life, working with the business, running a business, and knitting and doing all the things. And I've already admitted that I'm a lazy knitter. And so what I decided to do was kind of a riff on a fade. I certainly wasn't fading colors in, but what I decided to do was open up the hanks and I laid them out from lightest to darkest. And I decided that my progression was going to be from light to dark. My kind of harebrained reasoning behind that is darker colors tend to make things recede. And I'm a bigger girl and my stomach is a bigger part of me. And so I thought if I put the darker color down there, maybe it wouldn't be as noticeable. I draw the attention and the eye up to this portion of my body and to my face, which I thought was a better feature than my belly. So that was kind of my reasoning behind it. And it turned out really well. I did sort of use a fade technique to fade those colors in so that there wouldn't be a really stark demarcation line. And now that you know that, I'm going to kind of scroll this up to you and you'll just see it's very subtle. It's a very subtle variation. You can see kind of the lighter colors going up to then the darker hem. Okay. And then I use the darker color on the sleeves as well, because I don't consider my upper arms to be a great feature of myself either. So that's what I did with this one. So while it's to the pattern, I used a slightly different technique to actually choose the yarn that I was going to knit where in the pattern. And then my last one was this gorgeous blue colorway. I wore this either last week or week before last on the podcast. Beautiful blue, again in Rawlings, knit pretty much to pattern with no major differences. Now, my ribbing is sometimes a little shorter or a little longer. It just depends. You can certainly customize that as you go along. That's, again, one of the beautiful things about this pattern is that if you like a longer ribbing, you can do that. If you prefer less ribbing, you can do that. Or if you prefer no ribbing, you can do that. It really lends itself to a lot of customization, which is beautiful. Now, one of the points I want to make here, and I've mentioned this before to a lot of people in the Yarn to Use and on the podcast, if you are not leveraging the projects portion of the pattern page in Ravelry, I really encourage you to do that. And the way that you do that is when you see a pattern that you're considering stitching up, it's a great idea to click on the right-hand side of the Ravelry pattern page. There's a section that says projects, and you can click that and go in and see all of the patterns that have been posted as a part of project pages by people who have knit or crocheted that pattern before you. And you might say, well, why would I want to do that? I'm going to knit my own, or I'm going to crochet my own. You want to do that because, number one, it's extremely inspiring. You're going to see color choices that others have used, and you're going to see other techniques that people have used. So for example, if you love stripes, you can absolutely stripe the Beautifully Basic Tee. No worries, you can do that. If you want to do a fade, you can fade your Beautifully Basic Tee. What other fun techniques you have found on other patterns, you can apply them to the Beautifully Basic Tee. And seeing what other people have done really can be inspiring. I know for me, when I see a pattern, a photo, like a designer has put out a photo of a pattern and I've seen it on social media or in a magazine, my brain is automatically locked into maybe even that colorway or that particular technique. But once I go into the project pages and I see somebody has done it in stripes, or someone has done a fade, or someone has added a detail, maybe they've embroidered on it, my mind gets kind of blown. And then I'm aware of all the ways that I can customize it. So this pattern has been knit so many times. There are so many project pages for it. It's a great way to go in and kind of expand your thoughts about what you can do with the Beautifully Basic Tee. So that is, just a great way to expand your options when you're looking at actually knitting the pattern. It really, really is. So Martha's asking me if I'm wearing a BBT. I am not. And somebody else said that they love what I'm wearing today. So this is actually the early bloomer. There it is. It's got some color work on it. Very similar pattern in terms of shape to the Beautifully Basic Tee, but different. Here's one of the main differences. The early bloomer does use short rows. Short rows are a wonderful technique to use, whether you use German short rows or wrap and turns or Japanese short rows. There's so many different ways to do short rows. But it's a great technique to use to add shape to your pattern. For instance, we all have kind of that little raised part on our back behind our necks. Often designers will include short rows to help account for that so that a garment lays on your body really well. Well, one of the nice things about the Beautifully Basic Tee is that it doesn't include short rows. And you know what? It fits just fine. But the reason that I like that it doesn't include short rows is because for someone who's never knit a sweater before, you're dealing with sweater construction, you're learning that process, and short rows can be a little intimidating if you're not used to them. That's one of the things that makes the Beautifully Basic Tee a perfect beginner sweater knitter pattern. So you may have knit 500 shawls, or maybe, let's be more realistic, maybe 30 shawls. And you tend to be a shawl knitter and you're kind of seeing sweaters out there and you're thinking, wow, that'd be nice to wear a sweater sometime, to knit a sweater that I can wear. But that's really confusing. Like, how do you do that? What does that even look like? So you don't want to be contending with those thoughts and sort of crises of confidence and having to think about learning short rows as well. So I think it's a great pattern. The Beautifully Basic Tee, the BBT, is a great pattern to kind of get an introduction to sweater construction because it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to deal with specialized stitches or short rows or anything like that. It is top-down construction, which, again, if you've been around very long, you know that I'm partial to. We're not going to talk about the novelli anymore. Put the novelli away. But I've sort of sworn off bottom-up sweaters for a little while at least. But I love top-down sweaters, and the Beautifully Basic Tee is a top-down sweater with, as I mentioned, really straightforward construction. So it's a great pattern to get started with. And the beauty of it is when you do it in a make-along like this, like our Super Sweater make-along, and you've got the power of the yarn to use behind you. Plus, I'm going to be doing weekly videos, as I mentioned earlier, to talk about the construction and to share my progress so we can kind of go along together. And of course, if you have any questions at all, you've got the yarn to use, and then you have me that you can reach out to. So I really encourage you to jump on the bandwagon. Now, the question has come up, can I use vintage olive and 2U yarn? And I've answered the question, but oftentimes what that means is you're going to do a little stash diving. And I was thinking this week about stash diving, mostly because I'm looking at my own stash as I'm trying to put it away in the studio and thinking, wow, that's a lot of yarn to get to. Like, how do I even begin to sift through that yarn and make it make sense in the context of a pattern that I'm considering knitting or crocheting. So I did a little stash dive survival guide for you this week. It is a free download on the website. The link is also below right here in the show notes. And it's just a couple points. It's not super detailed, but I think the points are very appropriate for you. So you want to define the mission. What kind of project are you going to be knitting? If you're going to be knitting a sweater or you're thinking about a blanket, that's going to help guide your stash diving. Dig into the depths. You want to make sure that your yarn weight is going to match the project. All of the projects tell you before you even buy the pattern in Ravelry or on the designer's page, if you prefer to purchase that way, they typically tell you the yarn weight, your gauge, and that information. So you want to make sure that you know about that. And of course, you want to select the right type of fiber. So the silk, as I mentioned, has great hand, has nice drape. Alpaca certainly has nice drape. Every fiber has its own characteristics. So you always want to make sure that you're matching the fiber to the project so you end up with a garment that you love. And that goes into a little bit more here. And then I play a little game with you here. I said, if you find a hank and it still has the tag on it and you don't remember buying it, you have to say, hello, old friend, out loud. Talk to yourself. Talk to yourself in your craft room. I think that's kind of fun. I think we should say in the Yarn to Use how many times I had to say, hello, old friend, out loud. And then swatch it out and match it up. Now, I've given you here 4 different methods for sort of swatching or pseudo swatching. I'm not going to go into them in detail. You need to download this to look at them. My favorite is the yarn wrap method right here. I think that's a genius method, and it helps you to see how the yarn colors play together. So, and again, as you're, sort of diving into your stash, think about the technique you want to use. Do you want to do like a tonal solid? Do you want to do a true solid? Are you interested in stripes? Are you interested in fading? Maybe you find that one perfect skein that you bought and you know exactly where you bought it and you loved it, and it's just been sitting there taunting you because it hasn't figured out the perfect project. And you are thinking, oh gosh, I need 3 hanks for the Beautifully Basic Tee. So I can't use this yarn. I can't use this, one-off hank that I purchased and loved. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You just need to find some coordinating colors and elect to either stripe it or fade it. And you can incorporate that hank of yarn that you love. So hopefully this Stash Dive Survival Guide will give you some things to think about in terms of how you can select yarns from your stash and really make it work for you. So I hope it's helpful. Again, I like to keep these free little nuggets small and easily digestible. I know some of you have gotten little notebooks and you print these out and punch holes in them. You've got your Olive and 2U notebook and you put them in there and you can refer to them periodically, because sometimes we do neat little things like that to kind of help you out and give you a little bit of education. So I hope you like that. Lydia, you're absolutely right. It's a very versatile pattern. You can crop it, you can add longer sleeves, you can do all the things. So I love that so many of you are echoing the points that I'm trying to make. And that just says that it's absolutely true. So we've got 4 beautiful colors for you to select from this year for your Super Summer Sweater make-along. So I know I posted in the Yarn to Use, Amber Solstice is the colorway that I've chosen. This is one of the colors that you can choose as well. I know that Sherry and Terry have already started getting their dye schedule up with the orders that are rocking in. They're going to stay on top of those because they're awesome like that. And Amber Solstice is going to be the color that I'm going to be knitting my Beautifully Basic Tee up in. But we've got 3 other gorgeous colors. You can see them right down below, or of course, go to the website. The link is in your newsletter. The next color up, which is also kind of a gem tone color, if you will, is Stealing Home, which is this beautiful, rich, deep teal color that is extremely versatile in terms of what season you are going to wear your BBT in. You can wear it in the summer, you can wear it in the spring, you can certainly wear it in the fall and the winter. It's a very versatile color. It's deep, it's rich, it's got lots of gorgeous nuances in it because of the techniques that they used. Then we have 2 other colors that are the ones that are just now debuting, and they're debuting to the shop by way of the Beautifully Basic Tee kits. One is Imagine, which is a much more neutral colorway with some nice high definition speckles on it of color, but it's very, very subtle. it will be extremely neutral, fantastic for this pattern. And then next up we have Sedge, which is a beautiful, not quite a sage green, kind of almost a richer robin's egg blue, not as light as the sea glass that you see behind me, a little deeper, a little richer, but it really is that transitional shade that will work for a lot of different seasons. So Sedge and Imagine are making their debut to the shop via the BBT kits this time. And I know several of you have chosen those colorways as well, and they're going to be absolutely beautiful. So those are available to you right now. It is a sweater make along listing, so that we ask that you purchase more, 2 or more hanks, because the smallest sweater size does take 2 hanks all the way up to the extended sizes. That's another great feature of this particular pattern, is that it has been graded for the larger sizes, like so many patterns are doing nowadays, which I really appreciate as a larger woman. So that is the make along. That's the detail of it. You're going to love it. You're going to do a little ribbing on it. You're not going to have to do short rows. You're going to learn a little something about increases and decreases. And in the end, you're going to have a beautifully versatile garment. It's well worth doing. So I know several of you are getting kits who I know have already knit up BBTs. And I think that's really smart, because I've done 6. I'm going to have 7 at the end of this. And I'll probably still do BBTs in the future because I love wearing them. I think I've worn 3 of them this week when I've been out and about. So they are fantastic. And don't forget to download your Stash Dive Survival Guide. All right. Let's move on a little bit to the actual pattern of the Beautifully Basic Tee. So it first appeared in, as I mentioned, the very first edition of Nomadic Knits. Now, while that magazine is out of print for most editions, you can still get the digital magazine. And here's the deal. It is a fantastic value. The link is in your newsletter, and you can go to the Nomadic Knits website and get that digital magazine. It contains 9 patterns, y'all. 8 different patterns in addition to the Beautifully Basic Tee. And it's not just patterns. There's beautiful photographs. I think there's a cocktail recipe in it. And there's a lot of little great articles and information about warm weather knits, because that particular issue focused on Florida. That's why we were included in it, along with some other Florida indie dyers. So keep that in mind. It's a great value. I really encourage you to go over, support Nomadic Knits, download that digital copy. Even if you have the physical copy, I think the digital copy is really nice to have on hand. And if you download it over on Ravelry, you can find it there as well. It'll go into your Ravelry library. Now, Melissa Kimmer is the designer of the Beautifully Basic Tee, and she does have both the fingering weight pattern and the DK weight pattern. And I think you can get 2 right now for a deal. And you can also purchase the pattern directly right there on Ravelry and have it in your Ravelry library. So either way you choose, whether you want the whole entire digital magazine, which I really encourage you to get because it's a great magazine with great writing in it, or if you just want to purchase a single pattern, you can do whichever one you want. So a lot of versatility there. So you want to definitely keep that in mind. And of course, your Stash Dive Survival Guide. And while we're talking about Nomadic Knits, Knitmas is happening. Everybody's getting ready for Knitmas, purchasing their kits. Nomadic Knits has some beautiful kits available for you to purchase. But I know some folks are stash diving, and some of our Yarn-A-Use are using Olive and 2U yarn. And that's great. That's another reason I created the Stash Dive Survival Guide, because I thought it would help you make those choices as you're looking through the lens of either the Beautifully Basic Tee or the Knitmas Knit Along. Becky does a great job with all of her knit alongs over in the Nomadic Knits group, and I definitely encourage you to participate in that as well. And she and I do some fun collaborations together. We talk a lot and collaborate a lot, and I really appreciate having that friend in the industry. So that's really, really exciting. We're going to get to whips in just a moment, but I want to move on. I told you there was a lot to do today, to our 2025 Cancer Awareness Series. I've mentioned before that this was the idea of Sherry and Terry, and they brought it to me, and I thought it was a great idea, and they had a really, really great argument for doing it. And I'm so glad that we did, because it's become so incredibly meaningful. So many people are touched by cancer. My own family has been touched by cancer. I've mentioned before, my sister died at the age of 45 from colon cancer, and my grandmothers both had cancer. My father had cancer. So it touches so many lives. And one of the things that we're finding out through the 2025 Cancer Awareness Series is that this is bringing up stories. People are processing how cancer has affected them, their friends, and their family. And I know so many of you have emailed me stories or posted comments in the Yarny Use about family members or friends who have been touched. As you know, part of the 2025 Cancer Awareness Series is each month Sherry and Terry select 1, 2, or 3 cancers that are part of the American Cancer Society calendar each year. And they represent those cancers in colorways that are inspired by the ribbon colors for those particular cancers. When you purchase a 100-gram hank of that colorway, such as Surviving and Thriving, you also receive a color-coordinated stitch marker in the cancer ribbon shape made by Ann Michael of Twin Mommy Creations. She does such a nice job with notions and tools. Then you also get a little commemorative card that has a QR code that takes you to our website where you can read more detail about the cancer and typically has links to go to more information online about that. We also typically offer the minis with that as well, which I know a lot of you love the minis. And so many people are purchasing and collecting these. So I reached out to Nancy Victorino a while back, who is a Yarny U and is a great pattern designer. And we decided to collaborate on a pattern for you to use your cancer colorways. And then we thought about it and thought, what a great way to use this pattern or this recipe pattern for people to be able to make it really personable. Again, that customizable piece, but in a more maybe meaningful way. Nancy decided, we talked about it, to include motifs in the pattern that you can use to represent whether you've had somebody in your family or yourself who has, fought with a particular cancer, who has perhaps sadly passed away from the cancer, or who is currently in the fight with the cancer. In that way, you have an opportunity to make your project more meaningful. So the recipe for hope is what the pattern is going to be called, and it is more of a pattern than an exact more of a recipe than an exact pattern, but it certainly has directions and stitches and all those sorts of things. So Nancy is still in the process of designing that because she wants it to make it really special for you. And so we've decided that that will be our annual project for 2026. But to get you ready for it, Nancy has created the Recipe for Hope journal page. Now, we're not telling you all of the details about this pattern or recipe just yet, but what we are going to say is this journal page that Nancy created through a collaboration is a beginning point for you to begin to think about family members or friends who have been in the trenches with particular types of cancers. There will be 3 tokens or motifs that will be included in the pattern or the recipe that you'll be able to use to customize it. You've got a heart if you've had somebody that you've lost to that particular cancer. You have a star if you or someone you know is a survivor of that cancer and you want to commemorate their experience. And you have a triangle to commemorate if you've got somebody who is currently in the fight with that cancer. Now, what Nancy has done here is given you a place to write the person's name, the memory, and journal a little bit about your relationship or the experience or anything that you want that comes to mind. So this is a free download right now, also on our website. The link is below in the show notes. And again, you can print out as many of these as you need. Hopefully you don't need more than 1 or 2. Our prayer is that you haven't had too many people in your life that have been touched by cancer. But you can absolutely print it out, and then you can punch holes in it, put it in a notebook if you want, or keep it loose. You can color in the tokens so you begin to think about the colorways that you may want to use. And you're able to think about the colorways that have been part of the series that either you've collected or maybe you need to fill in some gaps. We are working on a way that you'll be able to fill in some color gaps for particular cancers if you maybe didn't start out in the beginning getting all of those colors. So don't panic if you don't have the ones that you want. And of course, you can certainly stash dye for this project as well. It will be what you want to make it. But it is in collaboration with Nancy Victorino of KnitwiseTE. And we actually have a little logo now that Nancy created because we've done some collaborations before and we intend to continue that. And this is a little logo. So anytime you see this, you know that it's a collaboration between Nancy Victorino, the pattern designer, and Olive and 2U Studios, who has gorgeous yarn. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you think about that. I want to hear, I know so many of you have already downloaded that today. So I'd love to hear in the Yarn to Use or in the comments here how you're planning on using that, or if you've already begun to use it. It is our goal to make it meaningful and make it a way for you to self-express. And we're also working on plans for ways that you can also memorialize online on our website for a time stories that you have with your experience with that. It's become a much larger thing, I guess I could say, than any of us could have imagined that it would have become, the 2025 Cancer Awareness Series. And we've heard so many of your stories. So thank you very much for that. I hope you will use it and that it will become meaningful. And again, knitting or crocheting with a purpose, having something that means something to you, I think is so important. I'm a really big proponent of that. So those are your 2 downloads this week: the Stash Dive Survival Guide and your Recipe for Hope journal page that Nancy created. We hope that it's a help as you go forward, and you can certainly modify it and use it however you want to use it. So let's move on. I want to see whips. So many of you are making great progress on the things that you're working on, and it's a lot of fun to see every single week. So we're going to go ahead and roll through our whip segment. Don't forget, the links are down below in the show notes if you want to learn more about the patterns we're going to be talking about. Okay, these are in no particular order. And I noticed this morning that some of you have made updates to your whips, because I think there's at least one FO, but because of the time lag between the time that I snag the photos and the time the podcast goes live, I maybe don't have the most updated pictures. So if you're not already in the Yarn to Use, you want to go in there so you can see them. Let's start off with Julie Garland, another FO. She's doing all the socks lately. Vanilla socks in Keeping It Cool and Summer Picnic. Those were sort of limited colorways, and I think they look super great. It's nice to have a vanilla sock recipe that you can always go to, because again, you can really focus on your color selection and you don't have to worry so much about technique. All right, next up, Maria, who I think is just back from a little vacation. She started work on her Heartwarmer shawl in Olive and 2U Twain and Fat Bunny Poppy. Now, you may not remember, if you're new to the Yarn to Use, we actually carry Fat Bunny Poppy in the shop. It is a great slub yarn, and it pairs so perfectly with Twain because it adds some texture to your patterns. And I love this. I think this might be the color highlighter, but I could be wrong. And it looks so good. She will definitely not be a wallflower in that color. I love it so much. All right. The Hitofeud, I hope that I'm pronouncing that right, by Cindy Titus, was taking its little bath this week in the charcoal colorway. And let me just tell you, this pattern has some beautiful detail to it, but you can't hardly see it because in those bathy waters, it just looks like a mass of knitting. But I'm hoping Cindy will post a picture of it after it's blocked and you can see all the gorgeous detail on that. Mary Nielsen is making progress on her Bamboo Shoots scarf. So she was part of the knit along, but didn't quite complete it, and that's okay. She's done what a lot of people do when you have a pattern that has a lot of repeats. She's sort of committed to a certain number of repeats within a certain amount of time so she can make that progress and get to the finishing details of this pattern. And I always think that's so smart when people hold themselves accountable like that. I'm not so good at that, but I think it's a great idea. So well done, Mary. Next up, Luann is working on her Coo sweater. She's getting ready for our trip to Scotland. I can't wait to see that sweater all finished up. She'll be riding the coach in that, I hope. It'll be a fashion statement. Lonnie, I think, has finished now her Marie Celtic Cabled Cow by Marley Bird. And this is beautiful. She used Forest on Homer from Olive and 2U. And this is a great example of how a tonal colorway and that's lightly speckled can add so much interest to a project. You know, typically when you're knitting up cables, you don't want a colorway that's going to detract from it. So you don't want like a highly variegated colorway, or you don't want something that has a lot of different colors because you don't really see the beauty of the stitch pattern. But Lonnie did a great job of going into her stash and picking out something that matched the project perfectly because it's a tonal colorway with some tone-on-tone speckles that really lets those cables shine. And I think she did a fantastic job on that. Next up, the Shine Bright Shawlette in really bright colors that Tish was working on. And then also Lonnie is working on that as well. And she did use some variegated colors here. Now, this is one skein of fingering weight, which is awesome because it's a perfect pattern. If, again, you've got that one skein that maybe you've picked up on vacation or something that just called to you, but you weren't sure what you were going to do with it, this might be a great pattern to use it in. She finished up her double knit technique, and she's saying it's not that difficult. This is the copycat, and this week the pattern is down in your show notes. I was able to grab that for you. She said the technique isn't hard. It's reading the pattern and keeping the place on the chart that's the challenge, but there are good tools available for that. Our Cocoa Knits makers boards are great for that, along with the magnets. You can keep your place, and I love the colorway and how it goes back and forth because you've got the double knit technique. That's a great technique to learn, a great project to learn it because it's small. You get some instant gratification and feel good about a new technique. And then it's in your knitting repertoire, which I love. Jamie's also been working on another technique, which is color work. This is the Seafairdy vest. And she had already steamed blocked this progress, which is not a bad thing to do. It's a great idea to do that in progress when you're working on something because you can see how it's going. You can see everything kind of open up. Look at the detail on that color work. I think it's great. And then she's working on her third project, the Adriata, which I think is by Joji Locatelli. I could be wrong on that. Working on the front. And she did a rolled collar so you can have a true fit when trying it on, which is really a smart thing to do if fit is important to you. And it is to so many of us. One of the other nice things about the BBT we were talking about is doing a top-down sweater like that gives you the ability to try it on as you go, which makes it another good reason that it's perfect for beginner sweater knitters. So I love seeing the whips. They are wonderful to look at. And see what everybody's working on. The best way to stay in touch with what everybody's working on is to join the Yarn to Use because we have a whips post every Wednesday for Whip Wednesday, and you can post your progress there. But don't forget, you can also, and many of you do, post your progress right there in the Yarn to Use on your own post. When you do post, if you could be so kind, as many of you do already, to post the pattern name, that really helps me out because I think it's nice for folks who see this on the podcast to be able to go directly to the pattern via a link so they can knit it up too, because that's one of the kind of nifty giving things we do to each other in the Yarn to Use or we share with each other is what we're working on to inspire so that you have a chance to be inspired and knit up those perfect patterns as well. So thanks for doing that and keeping us all kind of informed in the Yarn to Use with what is happening. I love that so much. Somebody said the recipe is a fabulous idea. I'll definitely do this. I needed an inspiration. That's great because if you're collecting those Cancer Series colorways, they are so different. And I think this really will help to give direction and help to give meaning to it. So, all right, let's move on. The Fiberside Yarn Crawl. Y'all, that is a week from tomorrow that it starts. That hit me, that realization, like a ton of bricks this week. I think I shared last week that my video was done and it was sent off. And then I got a little feedback and they said, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could add this or you could add that? And so I'm finishing up the edits to that video this week. It'll be done finally because Olive and To You is one of the very first presenters on the first day. There are two main presenters on the first day next Sunday. If you have not yet registered for that, y'all, it's $10. And there are discounts and there are patterns and there are fun things that are part of it. And you don't want to miss out on those discounts. I promise you, if you buy one or two things and use the discounts, it's going to pay for itself. Plus, the crawl lasts several weeks across the summer and it's entertainment. It's fun to watch. Who doesn't want to shop for yarn or even just see yarn, every weekend and get inspired and see some beautiful things and stay in touch with the fiber community. So the Fiberside Yarn Crawl does start next Sunday. You can still register. The link is down below in the show notes, and it's also available in your newsletter this week. So that's a really neat thing. Speaking of the newsletter, if you haven't signed up yet, why not? Just all you have to do is go over to the website. A pop-up will come up. You can sign up for the newsletter, and it'll also ask you to sign up for text messages. And I'm curious, if you're signed up for text messages and you're watching right now, let me know in the comments, did you get your special text message this week? Was it worth it? Our text message subscribers sometimes get special discounts or first dibs on things that are in the shop. And they got a little something, something this week. And yeah, subscribe to the text messages. I don't text all that often, but when I do, it's usually something you don't want to miss. So you want to keep that in mind. Oh, Valera said she got it. Awesome. The other thing you don't want to miss is I have started a blog called Skeins, Spools, and Stories, and it's right on the Olive and 2U website. There is a tab up at the top. It's only got a couple entries in it so far, but I do intend to keep on adding entries to it. It's usually a little sneak peek kind of behind the scenes of what's going on here in the studio, what's going on in the shop a little bit, what's going on in my personal life, just a little bit about what is happening that's a little richer content, maybe on a very focused topic than you're going to get in the Yarn to Use or here on the podcast. So it's always a good idea to take a look at it. There is a place that you can comment. I'm making it my business to look at those comments once or twice a week so I can respond if necessary. But it's just a little background about the things that go through my mind. When I was really small, and for many years, and still, if I'm honest, I always had dreams of being a writer. And I just never got around to it. But I do a lot of thinking about a lot of things, sometimes pretty seriously. I had a blog back in, let's see, the mid 2000s, like before it got to 2015 and all of that. I had a blog called All That Then This. And I wrote about several topics. Again, not a ton of entries. There might have been 10 or 15 entries. I think it's still on the web, actually. Don't judge me by it. But I had started a blog back then, and then life just got busy, as it does for so many bloggers. And then I decided, you know what? I've got things to share about what's happening behind the scenes at Olive and 2U. And so I decided to start Skeins, Spools, and Stories because I knit, I crochet, I sew, I embroider, I slow stitch, I do all the things. And so that's somewhere where I can share some of those items. So fun times. I do want to give you a little hint, and I did this, I think, on the Thursday update in the Yarn to Use. There is a product that we used to do for a limited time. It was a fun product, and we got so much good feedback, but then it was discontinued for a while, and it's coming back starting this next week. I had planned to make it live for the Yarn Crawl, but it's going to be live to the Yarn to Use or anybody who sneaks a little later this week. I'm very excited about it. It's been refreshed a little bit, doing things a little bit differently, and I am stoked about it. It's really hard for me to keep my lips zipped right now. I want to tell you all about it, but I'll tell you about it later this week. You do want to stay tuned for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a little different. There's not a lot of this product out there on the landscape. There are some probably, but it's a little bit different. And so I cannot wait to launch it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that'll be debuting later this week, and it will be live during the Yarn Crawl as well. And then, gosh, I shouldn't say this. Should I say it? I'm also working on something else through a collaboration with M&M So Charming that I'm very excited about. But that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to say anything else. It won't be out for a little while, but it's something really novel and really cool, and you're going to love it, especially if you like baseball. Did I say that? Especially if you like baseball. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that as well. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike, and of course, our trip to Scotland coming up in September. Let me tell you about that. The doors are officially closed on our trip to Scotland. They just are. They have to let go of the excess hotel rooms that they were holding for us. They always hold way more hotel rooms than I'm ever going to fill because I won't take more than like 32 people to Scotland. I like to keep it small and intimate. But I got word this week that there is a chance I could still get a few people in. So there's no promise, but I'm going to say, if you or you know someone who still wants to go to Scotland, do reach out to me. Don't think the time has passed. It's possible it passed. It depends on hotel room inventory, but it's also very possible it hasn't passed. And I know some of you were on the fence. So let me know, and I can still get you in, and we're still going to keep it right at the level that we like. A lot of fun things are going to be happening in Scotland. Cannot wait for that trip. I'm so glad we've got good friends to take care of our doggies during that time while we're out of here. So I'm really excited about that. And there's still time. There's still time. There's still some people that are thinking about it, but don't delay too long, because the last thing I want is to give bad news. I want to give happy news. I want to say, yes, we can get you in. So, and I'll get you all up to date on everything you need to know. We'll do a fast track via a phone call or maybe a shared Zoom call to get you up to date. It's not too late if you want to go to Scotland. So, well, I don't think it's too late. They've said it's probably not too late, but we'll have to check case by case basis for hotel inventory. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss out on it. So lots happening, fast and furious on Olive and 2U Studios. I'm so thankful for the Yarn Use. I'm so thankful for all the support that we have. It's a tough time for small business right now. I mean, I could like not talk about that, but I'm going to talk about that because I tend to talk about those things. It's a tough time for small business. And I'm really grateful to still be in small business and to still be rolling along and doing the things that I love, doing events and doing products and having great dyers, Sherry and Terry of Lonesome Pine Yarn Works behind the scenes, dyeing a beautiful yarn for the Yarn Use. And we've got collaborations going on right now. I've alluded to some of that. There's fun things happening, working on retreats, working with some local shops now, had some great conversations this week with local people, and have some plans for some virtual events through Olive and 2U Studios for classes and fun experiences. So when I'm quiet, it's because I'm working really hard. Kim says she's nervous. Nervous? Don't be nervous. You'll be surrounded by wonderful people. The Yarn Use are a great group to travel with and to have a good time with. It's all going to be so much fun. Happy 4th of July. Absolutely. Stay safe out there. Have a great time. Don't forget to always comment in the Yarn Use. Let us know what's going on and what you're working on. As we close out, I'm Michelle. I'm typically here every Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning with Olive and 2U Studios. We do all kinds of fun things. Don't forget to join the Yarn Use group. Can I say it? The Yarn Use group. No drama, no politics ever. And yeah, you want to subscribe? Give me a thumbs up, please, if you like this. It really helps me out. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know you want to still be here every Saturday. And I will conclude by saying I'll see you in the Yarn Use. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.